Hi everyone, my name is Alisan. I'm studying at Bolu İzzet Baysal University English Language Teaching Department. And today I'm gonna talking about theories of second language acquisition. First of all, second language acquisition theories were developed along the lines of the first language acquisition theories. Over the past 3 decades, studies in linguistics have focused on second language acquisition investigating how a second language is acquired, describing different stages of development and assessing whether second language acquisition follows a similar route to that of first language acquisition. A number of theories of second language acquisition were formulated, either deductively or inductively, and research in the second language classroom flourished. The first one is the monitor model. Stephen Krashen's model is one of the most influential and well-known theories of second language acquisition. In the late 1970s, Krashen developed the monitor model, an overall theory of second language acquisition that had an important implication for language teaching. Here are the 5 central hypotheses underlying the monitor model. The first one is the acquisition versus learning hypothesis. Acquisition is a subconscious process, much like first language acquisition, while learning is a conscious process resulting in the knowing about language. Learning does not turn into acquisition, and it usually takes place in formal environments, while acquisition can take place without learning in informal environments. The second one is the monitor hypothesis. The monitor hypothesis, learning has the function of monitoring and editing the utterances produced through the acquisition process. The use of the monitor is affected by the amount of the time that the second language learner has at his or her disposal to think about the utterance he or she is about to produce, to focus on form and his or her knowledge of second language rules. That means, by the way, the monitor hypothesis. The other one is the natural order hypothesis. There is a natural order of acquisition of second language rules. Some of them are early acquired and some are late acquired, as we all know. This order does not necessarily depend on simplicity of form, while it could be influenced by classroom instructions. Evidence for the natural order hypothesis was provided by a series of research studies investigating morpheme acquisition orders. The last one is the effective filter hypothesis. Comprehensible input will not be fully utilized by the learners if there is a mental block. That means the effective filter that acts as a barrier to the acquisition process. The other theories is interlanguage theories. The term of interlanguage was first used by Slinker to describe the linguistic stage second language learners go through during the process of mastering the target language. Since then, interlanguage has become a major strand of second language acquisitions, research, and theory. This section outlines the three main approaches to the description of interlanguage systems. According to Selinker, interlanguage is a temporary grammar which is systematic and composed of rules. These rules are the product of 5 main cognitive processes. The first of is overgeneralizations. Some of the rules of the interlanguage system may be the result of the overgeneralization of specific rules and features of the target language. The second one is transfer of training. Some of the components of the interlanguage system may result from transfer of specific elements which the learner is taught the second language. The other one is strategies of second language learning. Some of the rules in the learner's interlanguage may result from the application of language learning strategies as a tendency on the part of the learners to reduce the target language to a simpler system. And the one is strategies of second language communication. Interlanguage system rules may also be the result of strategies employed by the learners in their attempt to communicate with native speakers of the target language. And the last one is language transfer. Some of the rules in the interlanguage system may be the result of transfer from the learner's first language. The other theory is universal grammar theories. Universal grammar theories are based on Chomsky. Chomsky's claim that there are certain principles that form the basis on which knowledge of language develops. These principles are biologically determined and specialized for language learning. Originally, universal grammar theory did not concern itself with second language learning. It referred to the first language learner. Its principles, though, were adopted by second language researchers and were applied in the field of second language acquisitions. Universal grammar was used in order to provide explanations for the existence of developmental sequence in interlanguage and to support the view of interlanguage as a natural language which is subject to the consideration of the universal grammar. The use of universal grammar for language transfer, fossilization, and L2 pedagogy was also suggested. Evidence was provided that adults have some sort of access to knowledge of universal grammar. In summary, universal grammar theories of second language acquisitions were generated in order to provide explanation for empirical evidence, and they were primarily concerned with the international mechanism that led to the acquisition of the formal aspects of the target language and the similarities and differences between acquiring a particular language as a first or second language. Although researchers have used universal grammar to generate a number of interesting hypotheses about second language acquisitions, and generative theories regard universal grammar as the best theory of grammar because it's described and explanatory adequacy. Empirical evidence has been restricted to the acquisition of small set of semantic phenomena. A general theory of second language acquisitions needs to cover a wider range of phenomena. The other theory is cognitive theories. Psychologists and psycholinguists view second language learning as the acquisition of a complex cognitive skill. Some of the sub-skills involved in the language learning process are applying grammatical rules, choosing the appropriate vocabulary, following the pragmatic conventions governing the use of a specific language. These sub-skills become automatic with practice. During this process of automatization, the learner organizes and restructures new information that is acquired. Through this process of restructures, the learner links new information to old information and achieves increasing degree of mastery in the second language. A base in cognitive theory is also claimed by the interactive approach to second language learning. The language processing model proposed by the interactive approach assumes an autonomous linguistic level of processing and contains a general problem-solving mechanism that allows direct mappings between underlying structure and source forms, thus short-circuiting the grammatical processor. The last model that I want to mention is multidimensional model. In the multidimensional model, the learning stage of acquisitions of the target language is determined by two dimensions: the learner's developmental stage and the learner's social psychological orientation. The developmental stage is defined by accuracy. Others are developmental sequences, but within a stage learners may differ because of their social psychological orientation, which is independent of a developmental stage. Thus, a segregatively oriented learner uses more restrictive simplification strategies than an integratively oriented learner, who uses elaborate simplification strategies. The segregative learner is more likely to fossilize at this stage than is the integrative learner, who has a more positive attitude towards learning the target language and a better chance of learning the target language well. That's all about my presentation. Thanks for listening.